I'm going to say a few things today, a few bad words, a few things that are going to upset you. So I'm going to wear my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tesla shield on the front of me. As you can see, someone's already shot at it before. And hopefully you don't take it too hard, because what I'm going to tell you today is your favourite car company, Nissan/Datsun, are screwed. Let's have a look at it. I've always been a bit of a Datto fan. I've owned some really good Datsun Nissans 23s over the years. I had a beautiful Datsun 1200 long wheelbase imported Ute, which is the best Datsun I've ever owned. I had one Nissan R32 GTR, which was a good old thing. I've had an X-Snail, and a few R35 GTRs, which one still holds a world record, not for quarter mile times or top speed or VMAX or anything like that, but it ran for 2 years without exploding or breaking down driven on a daily basis. So there's the big star. Don't need to press the bullshit alert button there, because that is actually true. Thank you to Lisa D for driving it like it was made of soft eggshells, as it was. So let's have a look at what's wrong with Nissan. They've just released reports they're going to make 70% down in profit this year. They're cutting jobs, they're cutting plants, they're cutting models. There's no money left for R&D. If you think you're going to see an R36 GTR, well, you are, but it's going to be only driven by a thing called AI, the same thing that generates the picture. But the cars, let's have a look at when Nissan were good. Nissan made some pretty cool shit. R32 GTR, best Nissan ever made in my opinion. What about the R33? What about the R34? They were sort of later iterations of the same thing. You know, I know the R34s are, you know, the big money cars, but let's face it, it's still a Tesla, it's still RB26. The R32, the Group A car, that was the king, right? And they were really cool cars. And when I used to go to Japan, it was full of them. You can see the family up there. Really, really good things. Then they came out with like their budget car, which became a drift staple, which was the S13 with the SR20 DE and earlier CA18 DET turbo engine. I don't even mention that in all the aspirated ones, because honestly, you can get out and run faster. But there was the J's, Q's and K's. I reckon that stood for Jokers, Queens and Kings, and the J's were Atmos and the Q's were Atmos too, I think. Or you could get a turbo on, I'm not sure on the Q's, but the K's were all turbos, the Kings. So yeah, an S13 K's killer. And of course they graduated on with the S14 200SX and S15 200SX, and they're really good things. But then it all went wrong. Because even though they had all these great cars, and yeah, that big land yacht 300ZX twin turbo thing, the only car that if you drove it for a year, it actually managed to perish all of the underbonnet hoses that had anything to do with vacuum or boost, and rot the wiring connectors that to fix always required the engine to come out, which was kind of like trying to take a dead octopus out of a jar without smashing the jar. Hideous. So yeah, 300ZX, don't start me there. And then this bad thing happened. Renault got involved, and they needed to, because Nissan simply weren't making any money. And it wasn't a takeover as such, although it was a hostile takeover without being a takeover. It was an alliance. And we had Carlos Ghosn, who was the big cost cutter chief at Renault, came in and started slashing things at Nissan. He was responsible for the Leaf. So it was no great upset to me that for reasons of avoiding paying tax and whatever else, the Japanese authorities said he departed the country to Lebanon in a music case. Stranger shit has never happened. And pretty much since then, and the plans he put in place, Nissan have been screwed. The stuff they make now is about as inspiring as an enema. There are little brief flashes of brilliance in between, like, for example, the video photographer's Note. I think it's a cool little car. There's not that much Renault in it, but you look at things like the Juke, even the R35 GTR to a degree. bit too much Renault in there for my liking, and a little bit too much Paul Warner in the gearbox department. All of this means is that as the cars are becoming less desirable, the new cars, even like the new Ariya, is not a great thing, and the latest X-Trail is like it could just be any other SUV that's been smashed over the head with a jelly mould and beaten with the ugly stick. There's nothing compelling there to buy. And Nissan 2.3 always had something compelling to buy. But it's not just me saying this, and you know, you can write in and tell me how great the latest X-Trail is. I don't really care. Have a look at the share price. 2008, it crashed like everything did. Financial crisis. And this was just before or just after, around the time, I think it was just before Renault got involved. Then they recovered a little bit and then dumped hard again when COVID hit, like most car companies did, like all companies did. And then they recovered a bit, and now they've dumped. So much debt do they have, so little chance do they have paying it off. They've dumped to post-COVID, or worse than COVID, which is super, super bad. I give them at this stage 2 years before they're bought out by the Chinese or another company or something goes on to change, because they're in a really bad spot. There will be no R36, and I can guarantee you right now, they will never recover from this. Bullshit meter alert. Not bullshit, it's true. So here's what we do. We cross our fingers and we pray for Nissan, and we pray they bring back sensible shit like Datsun 1200s. You can find a picture of one of those and put there. And Datsun 1600 Dados. And do something, because without that, they're screwed. And you know what? It'll be no great loss. Sorry if I ruined your day.